Oh, you figured out how to do that.
Introducing LT Defense Tactical Gear, your ultimate solution for top-notch protection and performance in the field. Our armor bundles provide unmatched safety and comfort, while our battle belts and holsters ensure quick and easy access to your gear. Stay prepared for any situation with our high-quality medical supplies, designed to keep you ready for action at all times. Looking to enhance your skills? Our firearms training programs will take your proficiency to the next level. Trust LT Defense for all your tactical gear needs and gear up for success on the battlefield.
Military Broadcast Radio, the station that's giving veterans a voice.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm Amber.
And I'm Laura.
And thank you so much for joining us today. We've got a really great episode. I'm excited to get into
the weeds. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah, get into the weeds. And we actually have two guests today. I'm trying not to say all the time. And so I'm getting caught up.
That's a mood. I feel you. But yes.
Okay, so I am trying to help fellow veterans learn how to podcast. So we have a fellow veteran named Jason, and he is joining us from MBR. So we're going to add him now.
Hello,
Jason.
Hi, Jason. How's it going?
Doing good.
Good to see you too. Welcome.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so we're going to get into it because Jackie is on the phone. So today we have Jaclyn Rose. She is incarcerated in Chillicothe Correctional Center, the women's prison here in Missouri. And I met her through my cousin Shelly, who is incarcerated there as well. And I have gotten to know her a little bit, and I'm really enjoying her. And I just kind of want her to share her story. I will say from the outset, I don't condone anything she's ever done. Just like I don't condone anything that anybody does, that is wrong. So I'm not here to promote murder, but I am here to promote change. And I'm here to promote a better world. And so, Jaclyn, welcome to Into the Weeds. Thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So my story begins. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri. My parents were married, and my dad was a commercial painter.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, I need to watch the ums as well.
Oh, no worries.
I got glasses at the age of 4. Because I was always running around bumping into stuff. My mom noticed that about me. So whenever it got time for me to go into school, the kids made fun of me and they bullied me for it.
Okay.
They would call me like Coke bottles and, 4 eyes and stuff like that, which all kids go through stages of bullying, I guess, but it really affected me.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
it made me very shy. And I think what you would call it nowadays is I had social anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Where I didn't want to be around anybody and I isolated a lot. And so my parents, I was a very good student, but I isolated. My parents divorced whenever I was 6 years old. And so my dad would get weekend visitations with us. But some of the times he was emotionally abusive, I would say, and just the things that he would say to us, like, he would take us to McDonald's to eat, but he wouldn't eat with us because he called it, that food that'll make you fat, or he would, say, about our clothing, oh, the rags your mother dressed you in, and that was very harmful for a child because I didn't know any better. I didn't know about nutrition. I didn't know about clothing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I, with the kids at school and with the things my dad would say, I grew up with a really low self-esteem. And so I started noticing more mental illness probably by the 5th grade. I went to 5th grade camp when I was about 10 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being paranoid for the first time because we were set up in these bunk beds in this cabin. And I remember not wanting to be on the bottom because I was afraid that the top bunk was going to fall down onto me and kill me.
Oh,
So I cried
relate to that
all night.
hard.
Yeah, I cried all night, and they finally were like, okay, we'll let you have the top bunk. But
Oh.
that's the first time I ever remember having mental illness affect me as a kid. And my dad was always taking us to different churches he would go to because he was trying to find his faith. And so religion became a very important part of my story. I remember he took us to like Scientology one time and Lutheran one time. And Methodist. He just jumped around to a bunch of these churches.
uh-huh.
Well, this one church we went to, they took us to this kids' church. And I would say I was about 8 years old. And they said, if you take Jesus into your heart, we're going to give everybody here a candy bar. And I knew right away that that was not the way that you were supposed to accept God or Jesus or anything like that.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I immediately became cautious. I was like, Christians are bad. They're trying to trick me. You know, I didn't want to have anything from that point on to do with Christianity or Jesus or God or anything like that. You know, it wasn't for
Understandable.
me. I wasn't going to be tricked. You know, I was smarter than that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we ended up moving from, my mom had a bunch of different relationships after she divorced my dad, and she got into one and then it didn't work out. And so we moved to Kansas State. And we lived there for about 4 years. And I remember that being the happiest time of my childhood because I was able to kind of let go of the person that I was with all the social anxiety. And I really got involved in volleyball and cheerleading and dancing and stuff like that through the school. I even did a couple plays. So I kind of came out of my shell just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got sexually assaulted at the age of 16.
Oh, wow.
And so my mom freaked out. It was a family friend of the man she was married to. And so she picked up overnight and moved us back to Missouri to be, you know, closer to her friends and relatives in Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm
that
sorry to
really
hear
made
that.
a difference. It's okay. It's something I've learned to live with, you know. And so it was kind of a hard period, but during that time I was involved in like Wicca and magic and trying to pull myself together with religion, and it just wasn't working for me. And then I met this boy who was a Mormon that I met him at a Subway, and I just became completely enamored with him.
Okay.
So, and he's like, I only date girls who go to who are Mormons. So I became a Mormon person.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so that didn't work out, you know. And so whenever he dumped me about a year later, I went to a very dark place. And so I turned to cocaine and I said goodbye to all religion, and I didn't want to have anything to do with it. And then I was on that track for about 3 months before my sister pulled me away and convinced me to go back to college. I had a younger sister, and she's always been by my side, helping me out through these tough times. She went through a bunch of this stuff with me. So she's just been a really great support system my whole life. So I got back and I got into college when I was 19 in West Virginia. And I was there for a semester before I met the man who would become my husband. And he was from Pakistan. He was an international student. And he was just the love of my life at that time. And he was really good to me. And yes, I married a Muslim after 9/11. So that's kind of unusual, but you know,
No, it's a good thing. It's that you felt comfortable to do that, and that shows your thought process and some of your character, you know.
Yeah, so I didn't let, you know, but he got me interested in Islam. And so because I have this thing with, you know, boys and religion, you know, I kind of let it talk me into becoming a Muslim. So I became a Muslim, and then I moved him back to Missouri to be closer to my family. So
wow.
How did that go?
Well, he internalized a lot of it,
Mhm.
because he
Understandable.
considered himself the only brown person in Missouri.
Oh, I'm sure
you
that can be
know,
tough.
Yeah.
yeah. So he had
Yeah.
a lot of insecurities that he was dealing
Mhm.
with, but
Oh,
he was a really good provider, and he was fabulous to me. We're still good
that's
friends
good.
to this day.
That's
That's good to
awesome.
hear.
Um,
Really good to hear.
yeah. Uh,
Mhm.
but unfortunately, I turned 21 and I was able to buy alcohol. So he wouldn't buy it for me, because we were underage. I was
Yeah.
19, he was 21. And so when I could buy alcohol by myself, I started buying it instead of working or going to school or anything else.
Mhm.
And I just got to the point where I became the abusive person in our relationship. I mean,
Mhm.
I wouldn't like physically hurt him or anything like that, but I would say very hurtful things to him, and I was more emotionally abusive, like
Mhm.
the things I would do when I was drunk are just crazy, just not even worth mentioning because I've come so far.
Uh-huh.
Alcohol
And
does it,
so, yeah, it was totally bad for me, and I had all those mental illnesses, growing up, that just, they got worse as long as I was drinking alcohol.
Mhm. But did you get I don't want to go into too much detail to bring everything up, but I would like, like how far off track were you?
Uh, I was taking college classes part time, but I had started getting in legal trouble in 2007, which my husband at the time divorced me in 2007, and then
Mm.
I really went off the rails, and
I can see that.
I caught a stealing charge. I caught a couple of DUIs
Mhm.
during because this alcohol spell that I was under lasted for about 12 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
It's all
Yeah.
encompassing, I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
And it was like I had to drink every 7 to 10 days. I was a binge
Mhm.
drinker. I didn't drink every day until. So I was able to go to school part time
Mhm.
on the computer to get my bachelor's degree through the college that I had left. And at the same time, I could, drink whenever I wanted and, still have money coming in from student loans to basically do whatever I wanted.
Yes.
I didn't have any structure. I didn't have any structure. I just did whatever I wanted. So,
Mhm.
Yeah, so that probably made you feel, like, a little more comfortable, like you were in more control than you actually were,
Yeah.
because, I mean, being able to separate things a little bit is it can almost give you, like, a false sense of confidence.
Yeah.
I know that I know some people like that, and I've been like that myself in other ways, so,
Mhm.
yeah, I totally feel you there.
and during this 12 or so years of the
Mhm.
alcohol addiction that I was under, I had stages where I would have jobs, the stages I wouldn't have jobs,
Yeah.
stages where I was going to college. College was the only thing that was really stable because it was my bread and butter,
Mhm.
Yeah.
where I got my money. I had men in and out of my life, I would, be on medicine for my mental illness, and then I would be off my medicine because I didn't want to drink on my medicine, and drinking was more important. So
Yeah.
I just was in
Wow.
this huge vicious cycle.
Okay. Now, I remember reading in an article that it said you in high school or right after high school, you started having mental illness, and it said you suffered from schizophrenia. Now, is that what was going on at this time, or did that happen before the crime, right before the crime?
I was diagnosed with my first diagnosis was when I was 18, and they diagnosed me with bipolar disorder.
Okay.
Okay.
And so that got me into the door to start seeing a psychiatrist and stuff like that. And it got me on Medicare and Medicaid,
Okay.
so that I could try and get medicated and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they, with mental health, they pretty much they see what your symptoms are and then put you on a medicine to try and relieve your symptoms.
Yeah.
Because I hear, even to this day, I'm on medicine, but I still hear music constantly,
Oh,
and
wow.
some of the voices that I hear, and that I heard that make me schizophrenic
Mhm.
are some of those self-talk that I heard from my dad, having to relive the self-esteem, like, you're not worthy, you suck, you're a bad
Mhm.
person, like all that, bad stuff that's running through my head all the time, you know, and so those hearing the music and the voices are what tipped the scales with me being schizophrenic.
Okay. So what kind of music do you hear?
Mostly just stuff that I listened to during my childhood.
Okay.
So I hear a lot. It's usually stuff that I know and stuff that I like, you know, but it's not something that I can just like turn off.
Turn off, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like I'll be like, okay, stop thinking that, and it'll keep going, you know.
Yeah.
And so which, you know, whenever you're by yourself in the hole, it can be kind of comforting, you know, because you got something to listen to. But most of the other time, it's distracting, you know, when you're trying to carry on a conversation or you're trying to focus on something or stuff like that.
Yeah, or does it affect your sleep habits at all, you know?
Sleeping for me has always been really hard because my mind just races and races and races. I think that's part of the bipolar when I had bipolar. Because really what my diagnosis is now that I've been sober for 8 years is schizoaffective, which is a cross between schizophrenia and bipolar disorder, because it's got the auditory hallucinations as well as the mood cycling of going up and down in your mood.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a lot. Well, we're really interested to hear a lot more about that, but I think it's about time that we go ahead and take our first break. So let's see, what are we going to go to? You're closer to the mouse than I am.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, so actually I picked a couple of short ones. So we're going to listen to Matt Oakley, Richest Man I Know. Stay tuned, and we'll be back with Jaclyn Rose here on Military Broadcast Radio.
Thanks, guys.
Bed full of tools and some more rust. Boots full of dirt and they're all scuffed. You think he didn't have much? Well, he lived just a little bit different. Got nothing but got nothing missing. If you met him, you'd say it too. He's the richest man I knew. Yeah, he taught me to pray a little longer. Tie your boots, boy, work a little harder. Life's tough, but it's easy when you're smarter. Stay true to yourself, you'll go farther. Love everybody, 'cause one day you might need somebody. And don't you ever try to hurt nobody. Those are just a few things that he taught me. If you want a good life, you gotta live a little. And life's a storm, don't get caught in the middle. Know your worth, boy, don't ever settle. Time heals wounds, just wait, it gets better. Make sure to say yes sir, no ma'am. Look him in the eyes when you shake hands. Don't wait for pain just to say prayers. Just take your time, boy, you'll get there. Yeah, he told me to pray a little longer. Tie your boots, boy, work a little harder. Life's tough, but it's easy when you're smarter. Stay true to yourself, you'll go farther. Love everybody, 'cause one day you might need somebody. And don't you ever try to hurt nobody. Those are just a few things that he taught me. Well, he lived just a little bit different. Got nothing but got nothing missing. And Lord knows that we're missing you. He's the richest man I know.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. I'm with Jason, and we're also with Jaclyn Rose. And Jason, I'd like to give you an opportunity before we go any further to ask Jaclyn anything you'd like to ask her.
That would be great. Hi, Jaclyn. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
That's good. I just got a few questions for you. How would you describe your emotional state right now compared to before you were incarcerated? How are you feeling?
I am in a much better state than I've ever been in my entire life.
It's so good to hear.
Oh, that's good. No feelings of guilt, depression, or anxiety?
I still suffer with some social anxiety, but not nearly as bad as on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
That's good to hear. Are you making an outlet for yourself? Are you continuing your schooling at all? Are you studying anything?
Well, I have my bachelor's degree, which I got before I was incarcerated. So education is kind of at a standstill for me. But I have been getting into a routine of exercising a lot lately, and I walk the track every chance that I get.
Okay,
that's really good to hear.
That's awesome, and we'll
That's
get
a good
more
outlet.
into we'll get more into what you're doing in prison. So why don't we roll into what got you to where you're at now? What happened to you to be in prison, to be incarcerated for 33 years? Is it correct?
No, I was 33 years old whenever I got incarcerated, but I have a 20-year sentence.
20-year sentence. Okay,
Gotcha.
it was written. It was written in one news article that you had 33 years.
You know, they never get anything right.
Yeah, they don't. And I've never read any of those articles, so I can't tell you if they're right or not.
Yeah, they just read like one or two things. They see numbers and they're like, okay, that's probably what that is. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about what happened.
All right. Well, I want to finish up the last part by saying that I got sober from alcohol when I was 30 years old.
Okay.
And I had a 3-year, thanks to the Vivitrol shot. I just swear by that thing. It helped me so much.
Okay.
And I got sober for a good 3 years. I got my own place because I had struggled with homelessness during my addiction.
Okay.
So, and then it was during this period of time that I came into a little bit of money. And when I say a little bit of money, I mean like $1,000.
Okay.
So I came into about $1,000.
Yeah.
And I was feeling really happy and really good about myself. So I called the one person that I knew who I could get some cocaine from, who I hadn't talked to in about 3 years since I had gotten sober and tried to change my life.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the person that ended up being my victim.
Okay.
Oh.
So that night, it was in July of 2016, he could not find me any cocaine, so he offered me methamphetamine, which I had never taken before, and I didn't know anything about it except that it wasn't what I wanted, you know. But I felt like I wanted to celebrate, so okay.
Let's try
and that was just a huge, huge mistake. It led me down a really bad road. I got to the point where I was doing it every day by myself. And it was keeping me up all hours of the night, and I was blacking out, and I was seeing things that weren't there, and I was hearing things that weren't there, and I stopped taking my medicine. I stopped showering. I stopped eating. I lost 100 pounds in 4 months.
Oh, wow.
I was on methamphetamine for 4 months before this night in question happened. So I was on one of my benches, and my dealer calls me up, and he says he needs a ride. So I go over, and I pick him up, and I take him to the hotel that he's living at, and we proceed to get high. I was smoking at that time. I never shot it up or anything like that. Not that that's any consolation, but and then something just happened in my head, and it was like, oh my gosh, look how far you've come down. You know, you've lost all this weight. You're, you know, getting high in a hotel room. You know, this is not who I am. This is not what I want for my life. I don't know how to get out of this. There's got to be something that I can do to stop this roller coaster that I'm on that I feel I have no control over. And it's weird because at the same time, I'm hearing demonic voices, which I don't know if that was from my illness or the exacerbation of the drugs and my illness. But I'm hearing these demonic voices saying, you know, he's going to kill you. He's going to kill you. You know, you've got to do something. You've got to do something. And so I attacked him, and he got on top of me, and he was going to win the fight that we were having. And I pulled out my gun, and I shot him in the stomach. And I panicked. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually did something. I don't know what to do. So I grabbed my stuff and I left. And I don't know what happened the next week. You know, I don't know where I went. I don't know what happened. I didn't remember, you know, until 18 months after this happened, what actually happened that night.
Yeah.
Because I had been on so many drugs and I guess I blacked it out.
Repress the memories too, yeah.
Yeah. The police picked me up. I was living in Columbia, Missouri at the time, and they picked me up in Fulton, Missouri, which was 30 minutes away, about a week later, saying that they'd been looking for me. Yeah, they'd been looking for me for a week because apparently I'd gotten arrested that night for possession charge, and I had the victim's cell phone in my possession.
Okay.
So they were trying to,
so you remember the actual moment that you shot him?
Or the moments leading up?
And the moments leading up, but you don't remember everything after that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I mean, I have since remembered it, but I didn't at the time.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. So,
and yeah, meth, like, I mean, it already is known to give you hallucinations, both visual and auditory, when you have no pre-existing, you know, conditions. And I can only imagine that would absolutely exacerbate any kind of
definitely
mental health issues you were having at the time, and probably, you know, change the course of them forever, because I know it can just completely rewire your brain.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's That's why
And I didn't know anything about any of those consequences, you know, and I think even one time in October, about a month before this happened, I tried to get help for my addiction, you know, and I didn't as important enough to get help. You know, I was just worried about being locked down in a psych ward, you know, for however long they were going to keep me until I could get clean and sober. And I didn't take that opportunity. Had I taken that opportunity, I probably would have been here where I'm at.
Yeah.
Well, that's good that you can self-reflect like that and actually take accountability for that.
I do. I take full accountability for what I did, and I don't excuse it at all, you know, and I don't, you know, say that I did the right thing because I didn't, you know, but I can't punish myself every day for the rest of my life for something that I'm no longer the person that I'm not that person anymore, you know?
Yeah, I can only imagine, because you probably have this huge disconnect from that person to who you are now, that it's almost like it wasn't even you.
Yes. And with, you know, my mental illness, you know, I have struggled, like, was that really me, you know, that did that, you know? So when I got to prison, I constantly compared myself, you know, to other people. Like, am I as bad off as she is when she committed a similar crime? You know, am I as bad off as that person? You know, and you know, I struggled for a time in my mental illness with dissociative identity disorder. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's like multiple personalities. You know, and one of the reasons that I really liked getting into the stage and theater when I was in high school is because I could get up there, because it wasn't really me that was acting out the play. It was this persona of me, you know, where I didn't have to be shy, you know, and I didn't have to be reserved, you know. So that probably played, you know, a part of, you know.
I wonder if most actors and actresses have that.
Maybe.
No,
I wouldn't.
I'm not saying they do.
Yeah. I would say, as I would not go that far, but I would say, as for like method acting, like some of the people like Heath Ledger when he did Joker and stuff like that, I would venture to say maybe they access a very similar type of dark place, but I wouldn't.
Yeah, no, I was just I'm just on that wavelength.
Yeah,
I'm just thinking about that. I'm not actually saying that actresses and actors.
I get it, but anyway.
Anyways, okay, so Jaclyn, continue. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's, you mean, I spent 7 months in the county jail before I took an open plea for second-degree murder, because I was charged with first-degree murder.
Okay.
And so the judge, you know, took a report from the parole officer who interviewed me and said, based upon, you know, your education and your age and whatever it is they use to determine that, that I was, the average sentence would be 21.4 years. And so the judge handed me down 20 years for second-degree murder and 20 years for armed criminal action for using a firearm in the commission of a felony.
Wow.
Wow. Okay.
So, and I, looking back, I am really lucky to have gotten that. Some days I don't feel that way, but really I'm lucky to have gotten a chance to even walk out these walls one day, because there are some people here that don't get that opportunity,
You have something to hope for.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to actually get into what you're doing now in prison and kind of go from there. But I wanted to highlight and let everybody or say thank you to Laura Lynn and to Joey Laswell. Sorry, Joey. And Joey is a podcaster here at MBR. He is Money in the Military, I believe. And Jose Flores is also a podcaster here. And I know it has something to do with motivation. Sorry, Jose. I am terrible with my memory. And Terry Lynch, she does tracer rounds. I do remember that. And thank you, Joel, for listening. So we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we will speak more with Jaclyn about what she's doing now. Here's Matt Oakley with Away with Words.
She's from Alabama, I caught her red-handed, drinking whiskey on Saturday night. I can't imagine I'm overreacting, she's losing her mind. I met her mama and told her about her problems, how it's happened now a couple of times. And girl, I'm sorry, I'll be gone by the morning, cause you ain't the marrying type. Well, she got away with words and I know it hurts, so Lord, it's protect your pride. And girl, that's the way it works, and we ain't the first ones tricked by the morning light. So we came up, make love, then we take some, stay up, wake up all the neighbors. Yeah, I swore I was done with her, but she's got away with words. Yeah, she's got away with words, and I swore I was done with her, but she's got away with words. I wasn't honest, if I'm being honest, I fed her a couple of lies. And now she's calling me, going on and on about another guy. So I take the bottle off the counter and I pour one. She's the only reason that I always gotta pour up. And ain't it funny that I bought the bottle for us? I'm the only one who's drinking now, baby. Well, she got away with words and I know it hurts. So Lord, it's protect your pride. And girl, that's the way it works, and we ain't the first ones tricked by the morning light. So we came up, make love, then we take some, stay up, wake up all the neighbors. Yeah, I swore I was done with her, but she's got away with words. Yeah, she's got away with words, and I swore I was done with her, but she's got away with words. Yeah, I swore I was done with her, but she's got away with words.
Opinions expressed in this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of any entities they represent.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Welcome back, everybody, to Into the Weeds podcast here on Military Broadcast Radio. We're with Jaclyn Rose and we're with Jason, and we're talking about Jaclyn's life and what's going on with her. I actually want to shout out Christine Micro. I'm sorry I forgot about you earlier. You said it meth destroyed your nephew's brain. Now he's locked in a bedroom and won't leave for 2 years. And I'm very sorry to hear that.
We have a lot of family that unfortunately is on that stuff and,
Yeah.
you know, died on that. Well, maybe not from that stuff, but while they were still on that stuff, it
Yeah.
sinks its teeth into you and it doesn't let go. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's just how it is for a lot of people.
Yeah.
A lot of loved ones that are, yeah.
Yeah, you have to completely separate yourself from your
Mhm.
entire community and become a completely different person in order to do that.
Yeah, and I even had, you know, unfortunately a situation in my own home where I had someone that was staying with me that was struggling with that. And you know, sometimes you have to make some hard decisions and
Mhm.
I'm hoping that, you know, I'm hoping the best for that person,
Yeah.
but you know, it's hard. It's really hard.
It is. Okay, so we also have Kimberly Rose. This is Jaclyn's sister. It says, "This is my sister, my only sibling. The man my sister killed was also a sex offender on the run who hurt her multiple times. Greg Moore was an awful person." And then Christine says, "Yes, thank you." Okay, so I actually, when I was doing my research, Jaclyn, I came across that. And I actually had a hard time. I don't know why, but for some reason, my phone would not pull anything up on him.
Really?
Yeah, I had to go on my laptop, and I had
Yeah.
to do it that way.
Through CaseNet?
No, just
Oh, 'cause I
just
was
in
gonna say
general.
CaseNet has been really weird recently. I know a lot of people like a big thing that people were talking about a while ago was like Gypsy Rose's stuff had been taken off CaseNet, so they thought that she was going to be looked into federally. But I looked up one of my friends who unfortunately had a couple of issues, a couple
Mhm.
run-ins with the law, and literally every single thing of this person is completely taken off. So, and I looked up a couple people, it was just like that. So I just think CaseNet's having
It was
time right
Google and
now.
everything.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, I couldn't access it on my phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Kimberly also says he abused his own daughter.
Oh, wow.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
so let's
Jaclyn, let's
hear a little
explore that a little bit. Let's talk about that. What?
And is that something that you knew prior to any of this or something that you
Mhm.
might have found out afterwards?
Yeah.
I did not know anything about that before this all happened.
Okay, noted. So it wasn't a motivation or anything.
No, it was
Okay.
not a motivation. I found out that at my sentencing hearing when my attorney presented to the judge
Oh wow.
Okay.
that it was a 1996 conviction that he had in St. Charles County.
Okay.
Wow.
So yeah.
Okay.
And as far as his daughter, apparently when she was contacted about, being involved in the case, she didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
So
I understand that.
Okay, yeah, and your sister says nobody even came to the trial from his family, and my poor sister is now paying for it with her life. Yeah, I mean, he was obviously a person who had a lot of issues, and I'm not here to defend him. Unfortunately, Jaclyn took his life, and she's paying that price now. But sometimes we need a wake-up call, and this was Jaclyn's wake-up call.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and prison has definitely been my wake-up call.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good segue.
Yeah, we've heard that from a lot
So-
of people. It's good.
Yeah. So, because I didn't have any kind of discipline before I got locked up. I have been sober now for the first time, everything in my life for 8 years next month.
Mhm.
That's so good.
So there are opportunities to get drugs in prison, but I don't partake in that in any way, shape, or form. And I will not ever do it again because it costs me too much, So just one drink, even marijuana has become legal since I've been locked up, and it's not worth it to me to even attempt to be under the influence of something that's going to cause me to freak out, lose my mind again.
Oh, yeah,
that's a
definitely.
segue
Not
and-
worth another 20 years. No way.
Yeah.
So I've also, I became a Christ follower since I've been locked up.
Hold on. Let's stop
Yeah.
right there. Okay, so you became a Christ follower since you got locked up, but now you have a history of running to religion.
boy.
No, I'm just
Oh, no, I'm just laughing.
it's
I'm
a
not
fair
I'm not
question.
criticizing
No,
you.
I
I'm just
know.
laughing.
So what is your It does.
nobody, okay, so whenever we were allowed to write other prisoners in other prisons, a guy got me interested in watching church shows on TV, So I started watching Pastor Robert Morris, who has since been, alienated from the church.
I know.
Yeah.
But he had some really great teachings that taught me a whole lot of stuff about the Bible, faith, and, grace was the most important thing he taught me. And so I just ran with that, and I started reading the Bible for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got a great study Bible that gives me all the ins and outs and all the history and all the, things that I would never even think to ask about the Hebrew language and, what the New Testament means. And it just brought a whole new dimension to my spiritual life that I've never had before, I remember one of the first times that I think God ever spoke to me since I've been incarcerated, since I've been a Christian, was I was in the hole and I had nothing and nobody. And I heard God say, "You're stronger than you think."
Okay.
And I had never heard anything like that before, and I just knew it was personal and it was to me, and then I was going to get through what I was facing.
Yeah, because some people would say, "Oh, well, that's just your schizophrenia," but it's completely different than anything else you've experienced.
And you can't tell a skeptic, what they don't want to hear.
That is true.
But I know for me, what I heard and what I felt, was real and genuine. And it's not something that is only for this season of my life or just because I've got, what do they call it, jail time religion. It's not that. It's so much deeper, and I have all this time to, really get connected to, Christ and to connect with other believers who can help me grow in my faith. So I spend a lot of my time doing that. I'm actually writing a daily devotional right now. I'm reading through the Bible in a year, and I'm every day I read 3 chapters, and then I write a little summary about what it means, and then what, a specific verse that I've read today means to me specifically, and maybe it can help other people and stuff like that. So I've been doing that for 215 days now.
Okay, awesome. Okay, Jason, you want to ask some questions?
Yes. It's hard to get a word in edgewise. A lot of girl power in here. All right. Jaclyn, I'm curious, what were your primary sources of supports before your incarceration? And do you still have contact with them?
Do I still have contact with them? Well, I got Social Security disability in 2015. So I was living off of that, and I was living in government public housing. So that was how I supported myself.
I think you might be referring to like any friends or family that was a good lifeline support for you.
Well, my dad and I were estranged for the longest time, but since I've been incarcerated, he is back in my life, and we have a positive relationship now.
That's good to hear.
So he takes care of me since I've been incarcerated. My mom is there for me whenever she can afford it. My sister is always there to lend a hand, when she can. So, yeah, I have a pretty good support system now, but I don't keep in contact with any friends or acquaintances that I had on the outside, really.
I get it.
Just family.
What's been the most challenging for you being inside there?
Well, because I have some social anxiety, dealing with people, the first 6 years that I was down, I pretty much hid out in my bunk. And I would limit my reaction with other people. Going to the chow hall where there's all these people was really hard for me. But since I've overcome a lot of that, I was in a Christmas play that they did here. I was like what I consider the lead. I was Mrs. Claus for the night before Christmas. So I got out of my comfort zone, and I'm getting out of my comfort zone more and more so that I can really take everything that this place has to offer me and use that to my advantage to overcome the things that have held me back in the past.
Yeah, I actually, I've watched you and Shelly push each other. I mean, not so much seeing it from your side, but seeing it from her side. How long were you guys cellmates?
Just about 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, Shelly is my cousin. And so, yeah, I remember it was probably around 2 years ago. Were you her first roommate or cellmate?
Not her first, no.
Okay. Well, I think it was around 2 years ago when I first got introduced to you, and I just remember you guys were always you were in the background when she'd be on the phone and she'd be asking you questions and you'd have the answers and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, that's great.
She loves doing Bible trivia with me. Like, I know what I'm talking about.
That's cute.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So I'm also I'm teaching classes now. I'm a trained DOC facilitator.
Okay.
So I teach classes, and then I also my current position that I work as a job here is I'm a peer support specialist. So if someone signs up and they need to speak to someone to like help them through problems with their roommates or dealing with officers or behavior issues, you know, they'll contact what is called an IPS worker, and we'll get sent to talk with them and help them in whatever they're dealing with. So I do that now as my job.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's awesome. Jason, excuse me.
I got muted too. No, that's all good.
Sorry, I didn't want to cough and everybody.
No, I totally understand. But Jason, did you have anything else? Sorry, it's kind of hard to manage everything when we're all on the phone and stuff.
Yes. Are you currently planning for the future? Are you setting goals in a little journal, notebook?
Yeah.
I do have some goals. I hope to get published because I've written 3 books since I've been down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I want to get published, and then I'd like to find like speaking engagements that I can go to in the future and speak to people about the dangers of meth and mental illness and incarceration.
Mm-hmm.
I love to write, so there's no amount of writing that I can't get done in here and on the outside, and just bring a message to people who will listen, you know.
That's good. That's
And
good.
what is that message other than don't do meth and don't get in trouble?
Well, it's just you can overcome, you know, you can be better than you've ever been before, you know. You don't have to stay stuck in the rut that you've always been in, you know. You can rise above, and you can, kind of like the phoenix, rise up out of the ashes.
Yeah, no, you're right. And unfortunately, all of us could end up where you're at. All it takes is 1 or 2 choices.
Oh, I've said multiple times, like most people have committed crimes that could land you in jail. It's just a matter of have you gotten caught or not, you know, even if it's just something silly like, you know,
speeding.
I mean, like if you go over a certain threshold, you know, you're really, you could behind bars, but yeah, I don't know. Just a lot of people have done a lot of stuff, and they look down on people that have gotten caught for it. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah. And
I found that seeing people in Missouri prisons are really locked up for sometimes really petty stuff.
Yes.
It's like, really? You got locked up for that? Are you serious?
Yeah.
You know, and you almost don't believe them because there is a really harsh state when it comes to stuff like that, or like crime.
Especially the time you get for it. You know?
Shelley was telling me about a woman who is there for unpaid child support.
Oh my goodness.
But I think it costs like $35,000 to house you guys a year.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're using taxpayers' money. Right.
Yeah, I know what she's talking about. She worked in the kitchen with me, and she was in the same program that Shelley was in. And they locked her up for unpaid child support. And she got out, and she's doing really good now. She's helping run a biblical program in Springfield, Missouri. So.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
That's really great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay.
See,
So
people can't get out and do good things.
oh yeah, definitely. And we had Shelley on here, and she showed that there is help there in prison. So when we come back, we're gonna actually talk about that. We're gonna talk about prison reform, and we're actually gonna just talk a little bit about what you think about Gypsy Rose, and you know, because I think it's important. It's not about gossip. It's more about the big picture.
Yeah, because anyone who hasn't been paying attention, she's in Chillicothe, so you know she's been there, she's been around it. So,
so we are going to listen to an ad for beekeeping, and then we will come right back. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back with Jaclyn Rose.
Stats tell that each day, 22 veterans commit suicide due to PTSD. These stats shook us and urged us to do our part. After hours and hours of thinking, Beekeeping for Veterans was born. Beekeeping for Veterans combines beekeeping with mindfulness meditation. Why combine them? Here's why. Beekeeping causes positive rush of adrenaline while beekeeping. You have to be calm during it. You are mindful of your movements. Each week, a veteran will receive a mindful meditation to build emotional and mental skill sets. Mindfulness is a set of 3 attentional skills that work together: concentration, sensory clarity, and equanimity, mental calmness, composure, evenness of temper. Every time mindfulness is practiced, we build these skills. Beekeeping for Veterans not only helps veterans overcome emotional trauma, but also aids our environment, as without bees, there is no food. Come forward. The people who have supported your country now need your support.
Okay, so we're back with Jaclyn Rose and
Jason.
Oh,
Jason.
Yes, and Jason. Sorry, Jason.
Sorry, it's kind of hard on here sometimes to get everything flowing. But yeah, so we're gonna get into some talk about prison reform and stuff like that. So Jaclyn, is there anything behind bars that you see that bothers you, or that you feel is unfair or unjust or not right, or something that you feel needs to be known by the outside world?
There are so many things, and people around here complain. They'd be all millionaires if they got a penny for every time they complain.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
One of the things that I came up with today while I was thinking about this was state tip. So every inmate gets $7 to $10, depending on if you have your high school diploma or not, or if you have, if you owe money to the state. So everyone is called state tip, that money, and you're expected to buy your hygiene and everything that you need for the month with this $7 to $10, while shampoo is $4 a pop.
Oh my goodness.
So how can they expect you to buy toothpaste and a toothbrush and shampoo and conditioner and soap, and the state will say, well, we supply bar soap. Well, if you see the stuff, you wouldn't use it either.
Yeah, I can see
so the state tip isn't enough to really provide for all the inmates that need it.
Yeah. Because not everyone has money on the books being sent to them, you know?
Yeah, and there's a huge gap between the people who owe, like there's a lot of people who owe money who are here for their second and third and fourth and fifth and sixth time, who were out on parole and, you know, now they owe money now that they're back in prison and they can't pay that debt, so they live on state tip. And they wear state boots and a state uniform all the time. It's the only thing they have. They have 4 uniforms that they can change into, and only 4 pairs, maybe 5 pairs of underwear to last you the week. So
that sounds like the military.
They have the uniforms, but is there something else that you're able to wear while you're in there other than the uniforms?
You can buy personal grays, is what they're called. So, like, I'm sitting in a personal short and a state T-shirt right now, but they have socks and sweatshirts and T-shirts. But I mean, those are stuff that you have to buy. And if you don't have any money, you're stuck with the state uniform.
How about
so
you?
It can get really demoralizing.
Yeah. How about you, Jason? You want to ask her anything about prison reform?
Yes. You spoke about earlier, you wanted to be into advocacy. Would you feel comfortable talking to youth or anybody else on that matter?
Talking to who?
Like young women.
I don't really have a calling for the youth. Just me personally, because I don't have children, so it's not something that I would specialize in.
Okay, I totally understand.
So, but at least I know where my limitations are, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there somewhere you do feel called to, like any population or anything you feel called to speak about?
Mental illness is a passion of mine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, I worry so much for those, because I struggled with homelessness because I couldn't keep a job. And it took me 4 years before I was able to finally fight my case and win for Social Security disability.
Yeah.
And so I, really faced some hard times during that time. So, homeless and people with mental illness who are homeless because they're mentally ill really have a soft spot in my heart personally.
Yeah, most people that are homeless are mentally ill, and it's just like society completely writes them off, and people with mental illness tend to struggle with drug addiction the most because it makes a lot of people, like I know a lot of times if you're neurodivergent in some way, it'll make you feel normal or, quote unquote normal, it'll make you sociable
or thinking straight for a little bit.
Straight. Yeah. So people feel like it's better for them, it's helping me. Yeah. It's a really big correlation there.
Okay. So let's get into, what do you think, not just your opinion, but everybody's opinion that you've come across. What is your opinion of Gypsy Rose and what she's doing? I know she's trying to push prison reform, but I have not seen her.
Just saying you're interested in prison reform isn't prison reform. You have to be having certain conversations. And I understand she has limitations, due to her parole, but I mean, she was talking to the inmates anyway. So,
she went to the University of San Francisco.
I saw that, and
she was on a podcast.
Someone said she was doing a Monica Lewinsky cosplay because there's like a picture of her and Monica, love Monica Lewinsky.
No, the blue dress.
Love her.
If you know what the blue dress is, then
it was kind of more purple, but there was another picture, but it was cute. Yeah.
So it disgusts me because when I first came across her, it was when you were roommates with Shelly, and we were talking about her and praying for her and, wishing the best for her. And now I've gotten to the point where I'm just like, oh my gosh, will this lady just go away and go fix her life?
Yeah. I don't really know what all she's involved in on the outside because I know we got to see her limited Lifetime show. People in prison all gather around their TVs and they all watch the same thing and then they talk about it later,
I'm sure.
So that's a great pastime. So we all watched it, and I was really disappointed by how she didn't immediately get on the bandwagon for talking about state PIP or, reaching out to senators or, legislators who, can do something about, changing the 85%, which affects me, or, getting rid of the parole board, which really doesn't help anybody, or, making where there's no more accomplice laws, because you commit a crime in Missouri, whether or not you did it or not, if you were there, you're pretty much an accomplice and you're getting charged for the same thing.
I don't even know about that.
Those are three things that I've seen so many women here with really long sentences who, were just at the wrong place at the wrong time, and now they're doing 20, 30 years for it,
That's so scary.
It's really sad to see, that she just didn't be she just kind of left us all here and got on with her attention-seeking life. And, she's just all about her and her baby's daddy and, her husband and her dog. And, what about all of us that you spent 8 years with? Did we not mean anything to you? I mean, I barely had any interaction with her while she was here. But, from what I've seen of her behavior now, I'm not impressed.
Now, you did teach a class that she was in or something like that, a GED class?
Yeah, I was an educational tutor when I first came down in 2017, and she was a student in that class that I was in.
Okay. Based on interactions in that class, did you guys interact a lot? What was your opinion of her?
she wasn't actually real memorable. You know,
Yeah.
she just kind of faded into the background. You know.
That is funny though, because we have talked about Gypsy Rose a lot, but I literally have only watched I've tried to watch the first episode of one of her shows about 4 times, and I have never gotten through the whole thing, and I just never cared to watch anything else. I mean, she's kind of not that interesting other than her story, but her stories, you know, kind of fabricated, in my opinion, allegedly don't come for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Jason, do you have?
And I think.
Oh, go ahead, Jackie.
Oh, I think she mentioned on one of her shows that she kissed girls in prison, and as far as I know, she never had a girlfriend. So.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Because I've heard differently.
Yeah, we've heard a couple things, but it sounded more Pillow Princess. I think that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
but,
Jason, did you have any questions or?
Do you know anything about Gypsy Rose?
I'm not too familiar with Gypsy Rose. I heard the name over and over again. I don't know the backstory. Maybe you can fill me in a little bit.
Go ahead, Alora.
Yeah, the shortest synopsis I can probably give to you, because I mean, trust me, it is a whole rabbit hole. But basically in, what was it, 2015, there was a woman named Gypsy Rose. I believe she's in her 30s now. She was a Make-A-Wish kid. She went to, you know, all kinds of hospitals, and she was really sick. She was in a wheelchair. You know, she had to have all these, you know, unnecessary surgeries, and, you know,
supposedly.
Well, I'm getting to that. I was gonna do the drop. Thanks. Anyways, whatever. So anyway, she's super ill, and, you know, her mom, you know, they got like a Make-A-Wish house, or not a Make-A-Wish house. I'm sorry, Habitat for Humanity house, down in Springfield, Missouri, and yeah. So basically, it turns out that she wasn't actually sick. And she claims that her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, was medically abusing her, forcing her into certain procedures and certain things, and making her making her sit in a wheelchair when she is able to walk. And she ended up going on the internet and getting a boyfriend named Nicholas Godejohn, and he was autistic, and she severely manipulated him into coming down and killing her mother for her. And, you know, there's a certain narrative that she pushes, is that, you know, her mom was medically abusive to her and all that stuff. But it seems, after looking into some evidence, that's actually not what happened. She has chromosome microdeletion disorder that made 90% of her surgeries absolutely necessary. And even they've started to like show videos of her recently where she'll be standing up for like a long period of time, and she'll start to get really out of breath. So maybe that's probably a big reason why she had the wheelchair, you know?
Yeah. So basically she killed her mom.
Yeah. She killed her mom, and she got out of prison, and everyone initially thought that, you know, it's good that she's getting out of prison because she was abused, but now the tides are turning. People are realizing the truth, and also she's acting like a fool now.
And she's not helping the women that she spent 8.5 years with.
And the reason why that matters, because not everyone does advocacy when they get out, but the reason why it matters is because she was preaching advocacy, and she was saying, I want to be an advocate. I want to do this and that. And then maybe like a month later, she was like, oh, I just want to live my life. I don't want to do this anymore. Like, she literally said that.
But then she went on Kim Kardashian or
Kim,
whatever.
that was before. It just released way after. She did that when she first released in like January.
So Jason, basically this woman is getting all of this attention.
Yeah.
She's made millions of dollars. She has gone on speaking engagements. This woman's on parole, but she's going everywhere and doing the most.
And she's doing inappropriate things though too.
Anyways,
she just wants to be a celebrity, pretty much.
Yes, an influencer. She wants to keep up with the Kardashians, even though he said that she doesn't know anything about them. But anyways, so the only reason I brought her up is because it's a little relevant, because that's, you know, when Shelly and I were talking about her, that was, you know, one of the things we were talking about as I was getting ready to start my podcast and start thinking through things. And so it's just something that's on my mind that I follow, but I don't really follow that much.
Not obsessively so, but just casual, like, oh, you know. And since you, Jaclyn, were are in Chillicothe. We figured it was just worth mentioning. I don't know if you guys know anything about like the Menendez brothers. It's a really big thing that's, going on right now. But, a couple weeks ago, Gypsy was actually asked in an interview, or it wasn't really an interview. I think she was at the airport and like someone came up to her like paparazzi or something, which is crazy that she's getting paparazzi. I mean, you killed your mom, but anyway. But they basically asked her about the Menendez brothers and what she thought about it. And she literally knew nothing about the case. And, everyone can have their own opinions on things, but with what they said was done to them by their parents, in my personal opinion, is way worse than what she alleges Dee Dee did to her. And the fact that she like just didn't want anything to do with it. And she thought it was like inappropriate to even be asked of her.
Either way, in both cases, neither one of those people, the Menendez brothers or Gypsy, was in imminent danger.
Yeah.
And with Jaclyn, she was in imminent danger, I feel like, and she felt I think.
That's what it sounds like for sure.
Yeah.
That's what it seems to be.
And so it's sad when people get out there and do things, that don't benefit anybody but themselves.
Yeah.
And so
especially when they're so outspoken about wanting to help people.
Is there like one thing that you just like really like is on your bucket?
Again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've only been on a plane once in my life. So I'd like to, take a plane trip out to, Colorado or Utah or, California or something.
Yeah.
I've considered, maybe because I don't have any children, that I could work, on a cruise ship, and travel that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any particular place you want to go?
I'd like to see Utah again. I went to BYU for a semester.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Imagine that, right?
Well, you did say that you had dipped your toes in Mormonism.
Yeah. So I went to BYU for a semester, and I really loved the fresh mountain air, and it left an impression on me. I'd like to maybe go back to Salt Lake again one day.
I've never been to Utah. I've actually never been to any of the states that you mentioned.
I've never been to Utah either.
I'm here and I'd love to see the mountains as well. I mean, I should really get a move on my life.
Yeah, you should. Okay, so I did not know that your sister was actually incarcerated with Gypsy as well.
Yes. She was incarcerated with me.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you're with each other for a little bit, or are you able to see each other at all? I know there's different wings.
We lived on the same wing for 5 days.
Okay. 5 days.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Well, I'm glad she's out now. Yeah. Kimberly, I'm glad you're out, and I hope you're doing really well. And, hopefully, do you have an appeal, or not an appeal, but do you have, what is that? A parole?
Well, I was reading one of her sister Kimberly's comments, and it looks like she might not be eligible for parole for 8 years. Is that true?
I see the parole board in 2031, and my 85%, which is statutory that I have to serve before I can be released on parole, is 2033.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So I've got about 9 years before I can be released.
Okay, well, that's 9 years of figuring out who you are even more, figuring out a plan. I definitely recommend, making out lists and doing flow charts and all kinds of things to help you really, think about life and plan.
Yeah.
Yes, I keep plenty of papers constantly. I just don't have anywhere to put them to keep them.
Okay, Jason, do you have anything else you'd like to add or ask?
Yes. Just remember, Jaclyn, this is your journey, and it may feel overwhelming at times. There are ways to move forward. Just keep the faith, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no doubt. And just mentoring or for Shelly. I mean, you were definitely a breath of fresh air for her. It was She was really struggling. And when you came into her life, you really encouraged her and lifted her up and made her remember that she's got a higher purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. She does that for me too. You know, she's a great person and I love her very dearly.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Jaclyn, so much for joining us. And we hope to have you on again sometime. One day I'd like to find somebody who actually wants to talk about prison reform and actually talk to me.
As in, like, someone that's on the outside.
that can actually do something about it.
Yeah.
And have maybe you or Shelly or both of you on to just kind of talk to them about. I'd really like to know, you know, what the women there believe prison reform is.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And just a big reminder to anyone who's out here, I'm not going to tell you what to believe or how to vote or anything, but just remember that the elections are coming up. And if prison reform or anything regarding this is something that you're interested in, look into some of your candidates. And I'm not just talking about like the presidential election, but, you know, there's a lot of state stuff right now that's important. And just look into who's going to have your best interest in mind. And that's all I have to say about that.
And Beyond the Headlines says, great discussion. I wish Jaclyn well. Keep doing the great things you are doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And then let's see. Christine Micro said that you were doing an awesome job. And so, yeah, you've got some people who are cheering you on.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Thank you so much, Jaclyn. And we wish you nothing but the best and hope that you continue to work on yourself and just be that bright light for others.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity. You guys have a great day.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so
You have a
much.
great night. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
The caller has hung up.
Okay. So
Okay, that was a good discussion.
yeah, it was.
What do you think, Jason?
Very interesting.
Mm.
I think she's going to do very
Yeah,
well.
Absolutely.
Stays on her goals and everything.
Yeah, for sure. And I think her being behind bars is probably a good thing, because if she would have gotten out, you know, like I hate to say this, but just genuinely, like, if she would have gotten out, because I know that she didn't realize the kind of person that he was. So I do not condone, whether she knew it or not, I don't condone murder. That being said, I have conflicting thoughts about the death penalty, and the kind of person that he is really the only type of person that I feel like truly deserves it. So I'm not condoning it. I think it was horrible, especially
Yeah.
since she wasn't in the know about it. But I think if she would have gotten off easy, that she might have turned back to certain things.
Yes.
So that's why, despite, you know, the gray areas around it that some people might see, sometimes it can just be beneficial for people to be able to get away from everything
That's
for
a
a
great
little bit, at
point.
least in my personal
Yes, incarceration could be her wake-up call. She needed.
opinion. And it probably is that same way for, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got to hit rock bottom sometime.
Mhm.
Well, most people have to hit
Yeah.
rock bottom to change. You
Yeah.
have to be forced to change in order to change most of the time.
Yeah, definitely. So
So, well, thank you, Jason. And I would actually like to have you come on another time and actually talk to you about your life. Because before, when we were getting ready for Jaclyn to come on, we were talking, and he's got a very interesting life.
yeah, I'm sorry. It kind of, again, it's hard to do this, especially when there's like a phone call and we can't all see each other's faces. It's a lot easier. One day we'll have to have like some people in the studio or something,
Yeah.
and because like it's easier to read body language and be able to like insert yourself and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love to have you back, and you had some really good questions.
Mhm.
So
Well, thank you so much for inviting me over. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
of
welcome.
course.
And I am so glad that you're going to be a part of MBR.
Yeah.
And we're excited to have you as part of our team.
do you have a show in the works yet, or is that something you're still figuring out? Is there anything you want to advertise, or?
I'm in the baby stages. It's
In the
coming
baby-
in rotation.
Yeah, no rush, no rush. Just wanted to give you the opportunity. If you already knew what was up, I wasn't sure what the deal was.
No, I'll do a shameless plug when I'm ready.
Shameless plug, yeah,
Plug.
absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you, Jason, so much.
Well, thank you
Awesome,
so
thank
much.
you so much.
Okay. Have a great night.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay,
Ooh.
thank you, everybody. That was a great discussion. There's lots of questions that I had that I didn't get a chance to ask.
We can always ask them another time.
Yeah, but I definitely want to have more discussions like this and to just be able to hear the other side. We're supposed to be there for people in prison. That's what the Bible tells us we're supposed to do. And widows and orphans. And, just because they have committed a crime or done something wrong doesn't mean that they're not human and don't deserve a second chance or just a bright light in their life to help them make better choices.
Yeah. And like I said, whether or not I have conflicting feelings on it, but Jaclyn did deserve to serve at least a little bit of time.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's what it takes. And if you can change your life, behind bars and hopefully change other people's lives too, because it really seems like she's had a good impact on other people that are there.
She has on my cousin, and I am extremely thankful for that.
Yeah, and your cousin, I mean, I don't really know. We talked to Shelly. Honestly, when we talked to Shelly the other week, it was really the first conversation I really had with her. I say I've never met her. She always says, when you were a baby, but I didn't meet her if I couldn't say, hey, hello, I'm Laura. How's it going? But it's been an enlightening couple of years since your cousin's been in prison that we've been having these conversations.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of moving us both in different directions than we ever thought we'd be in.
Oh, yeah, totally. But I'm excited to learn, honestly, and to just keep just being educated.
Yeah. And also thank you, Kimberly Rose, for coming in here and clearing some stuff up. You helped guide some of the questions that we wanted to make sure we asked. And it was also nice to be able to put your comments up on the screen. Unfortunately, whenever people are doing the playback, they can't see the live chat, but everything that's on here, they're able to see. So, everything you said will be heard by anyone that decides to watch. So,
yeah, we are very thankful, Kimberly. And it takes courage to actually come on alive and
put yourself out there and associate yourself with something that could be very controversial in a lot of people's minds, but you care about. And mental illness is it's a scary thing, and especially if you're taking drugs or alcohol. She said marijuana has been legalized in Missouri since she's been in prison, but it's something she doesn't want to touch. Well, something that a lot of people don't want to talk about at all. And as someone who is a very, very avid user, unfortunately, she probably turned down. But all I'm saying is it has it really can bring schizoaffective disorder to the forefront. If it's something that is kind of dormant and it's somewhere in your brain, it can push it into full force. Obviously smoking weed doesn't automatically give you hallucinations or make you give you any sorts of issues, but it just, if you have that within your brain, it really can. Sometimes you'll never know. Sometimes you'll never ever know until people start smoking, and then a couple years go by, or 4 months. It wasn't weed, but still, and then obviously that meth is obviously going to exacerbate it. And I mean, I know you have, like we said earlier, you have a lot of friends and family that unfortunately have a lot of experience with that, and they also have a lot of mental health issues, which again, as she was saying, she's Jaclyn's very passionate about mental health issues, and unfortunately mental health issues, homelessness, drug addiction, they all go hand in hand. And that's something that we have to absolutely address and keep in mind, because check on your friends, and not to bring it to this, but oh my goodness, it's been a rough week. I lost a friend, unfortunately. He passed away, 25 years old. And that's not really relevant to the addiction thing, but not to sound silly, but it hurt me a little bit too that the day after I found out that my friend had passed away, we get hit with Liam Payne from One Direction. And the reason why I'm bringing that up, not just to be he was struggling, and there were a lot of there was so many signs. And don't get me wrong, he had some allegations. He probably wasn't the greatest person in certain regards, but also I'm not excusing it, but certain drugs and certain experiences can make you do certain things, and it's not an excuse, because plenty of people do certain things and they don't, do everything that he was accused of.
Yeah.
But that being said, he was screaming for help, and it's like, if the right person would have just reached him, maybe something could be different.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's all I really have to say about that. I accidentally saw the photos of that, and
okay, we're not gonna even talk about that.
that's all I'm saying. Anyway, don't shut me up. You always do that. You always do that. We're just having a conversation. I love you. That's all I was saying. Good Lord. Okay. That's all I had to
This is how it
say.
usually goes.
I try to shut her up. She tries to shut me up.
And then we talk about it.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for coming in. Again, big shouts out to everyone who was in the chat.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much.
Very much appreciate. No matter what your opinion is on the situation, it's something that's worth hearing. We all need to know some of the things that can lead up to certain events and the warning signs. And yeah. I'm not saying always assume that, things are going to go this route with people, but always pay attention, because you really never know.
That's true. So we thank you so much for watching and listening, if you're listening. And we just hope that you have a wonderful week and that you go out and do something to change the world and make it a better place.
Yeah. Or fuck shit up.
Okay. Thank you again, everybody, for everything. And we hope you have a blessed night.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.